Now, if you'd please stand and join me in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much and welcome. We will call the meeting to order. Whoops. Would note that, I think, did Councilmember Collett talk with you?
Yes.
That he's not going to
He
be here?
talked
They
tonight.
had a work issue. So the council is all present other than Zach Collett. We'll call the meeting to order. And let's start with the agenda. And let me mention before we talk about approving it, at item number 10, we have buying Chingawassa Days buttons for employees. Clayton Garnica, the chairman of the Chingawassa Committee, is here. Clayton called me today, and I'm sympathetic to his situation. He knows he needs to come in and get our permission to have the event and have a beer garden, that sort of thing, and he just didn't get in here. So with council's permission, I would like to amend the agenda only to the extent that item 10 will include Clayton and the request for permission. Anyone have any issues with that? Okay. So with that minor adjustment, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move we approve the agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it unanimously. Consent agenda, does anyone have anything they want to pull out of there to be able to talk about? If you do, I won't ask for a motion to approve consent agenda. No? Okay. We have, in the consent agenda, we have the minutes of the May 5th meeting. I wasn't here, so I would be,
I did have something on the minutes.
oh, you do?
Yes,
Okay,
I
then
remember.
go ahead.
On my report, I'll go into the minutes, or when I was speaking on the potentially the code of ethics discussion, that's actually the code of conduct discussion. That's what that, so instead of code of ethics, it should be changed to code of conduct. That's what that flyer thing put out by the Kansas League of Municipalities actually called. So if anyone's looking for it, they won't be able to find it. And it says that we changed back in 2017. That wasn't the city changing, that was the League of Municipalities updated their code of conduct. Just for clarification on that line. I don't know when the city updated, I didn't ever find the date it was done.
That's on page 2, I believe, and it is
Under
under
code of ethics discussion.
yeah, so code of conduct.
Code of conduct, that's all.
So you moved to amend the minutes to correct that
Yeah.
mistake. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion and second by Burkholder. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. But me, I'm abstaining with regard to the minutes. With regard then to approval of the minutes as amended, someone make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
I move that we approve the minutes as amended.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. I abstain once again because I wasn't here. Let's go then to the approval of the May 19, 2025 warrants, the amount of $200,751.05. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion to approve.
I'll second. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it unanimously. Approval of payroll in the amount of $43,273.84. Any questions? Is there a motion to approve it?
I move we approve payroll.
I'll second. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it unanimously. This is the point in the proceeding where the public is invited to make comments on any matter that is on the agenda for action tonight. And we've been pretty liberal on that. If it's on the agenda, we likely hear you with regard to it. The point is, this is where we want to give you a chance to talk before we vote on something. Now, if it's a general matter that is not related to anything on the agenda, that would be more appropriate for item 14, the public comment. So, anyone wish to comment on agenda matters? No comment, thank you. Matt Meyerhoff, Fireman's Relief Discussion, would you come over to the table? You gonna leave your secretary there?
Yes, unless you want to come over.
Okay.
No, you're right.
I think she has the same attitude as your wife, but that's
Yeah,
okay.
pretty much. Distance. So, I don't know, Mark, if you want to talk about what brought this up, or you just want me to give a brief.
Just give a background.
Okay, so I'm here representing the Firemen's Relief Association of Marion, Kansas, which is a Firemen's Relief Association, or an FRA, funded through or operated through the Firefighter Relief Act, which is under the Kansas Insurance Department. Through that, any fire or lightning insurance that is purchased has a fee on it, which goes to fund the FRAs. There is a large pot that's created throughout the state, and then each department across the state can have an FRA. And this is a nationwide program. Many states have this. I don't think all do. That pot is split between all those departments that have an FRA based on a calculation utilizing population and valuation of property protected. So each year we get a disbursement. It's usually somewhere around $10,000 to $12,000, I think. So that has resulted in, we have an account of $146,000 that's held by the FRA under state law, which is governed by the insurance department. So basically we use those funds to benefit volunteer firefighters, or if you are a professional department, there's regulations that allow benefits for professional firefighters. Within the FRA for Marion, we're FRA 300, any firefighter on the rolls is automatically a member of the FRA. So they can receive benefits for the FRA. Now it is the Firefighters Relief Act, so what benefits can be provided? There are several things that are specifically stated in law that can be provided, and outside of those specific things we cannot provide. So one is insurance. We can purchase disability insurance, which currently we purchase disability insurance for any injury that is sustained on duty. So whether that's training, at a fire, if a disability would occur, then disability payments are made. Those are benefits provided by the FRA. Now we have insurance on that individual to cover our expenses. So we essentially would receive the payout for the insurance, and we use that fund that then goes straight to the firefighter earning that benefit. We also have the ability to purchase life insurance. So right now we have life insurance whether on duty or off duty. So if a active firefighter, someone on our roster passes away, we do have a life insurance policy on them, which we would then use to provide benefit to their stated beneficiaries. The other thing that we do have as part of that is a cancer policy. So firefighters are known to have higher rates of cancer due to all the different toxins that we're exposed to in fires. So we thought that would be a good rider to have. Within 6 months, the benefits that we had received from that covered the next 20 years of indemnities on it. So very good thing for us to provide to our firefighters. The other thing that is allowed is we can provide annuities to retired firefighters. In order for a firefighter to receive an annuity, they must have been on the department for 20 years. That does not transfer from department to department. If you're on the Florence department for 5 years and Marion for 15, that is not 20 years on a department. So you would not qualify for the annuity benefit yet. So once you reach 20 years, upon retirement, you can receive an annuity. That annuity is basically purchased utilizing the funds that we have in our account. So those are the primary benefits that we can use. So where does the city come in on this? Well, you guys provide us graciously with 2 things. One, you purchase our treasurer's bond. We are required to have a treasurer's bond by state law in order to be in compliance with the FRA Act. And then 2, you allow us to use your attorney. So, if we have something that requires an attorney, which any expenditures over $1,500, so if one of our insurance bills is greater than $1,500, we have to ask the attorney, can we get approval? Does this meet the benefits as explained under the law? So we would get that approval. Those are the only things we've ever used an attorney for. Recently here, we have taken, right now, our funds are sitting in a bank account. They were in individual annuities, which we got to looking at here a couple years ago, and it was kind of a gray area whether they met the spirit of the annuity law, because we were purchasing them early under the FRA for beneficiary into the future, and it became a lot of paperwork. So all of those were closed, and we are going to be moving to a single entity, Overview Financial, who handles a large portion of the FRA investments across the state. And they are helping us with that process, and as part of that, they have sent information, I believe, to your lawyer requesting to confirm that, yes, we believe this is in compliance with the law. So beyond that, that is the FRA and what we do.
And I assume that you and Mark,
Yeah.
you and Matt have been talking.
We have, and ultimately, the city attorney has, he suggested we'll have to sign a form approving this.
Okay.
So we just recommended, Brian to give the authority to, well, it's not really ours, it's on behalf of FRA. We just want to keep you informed on this. And,
Oh, okay.
and Brian
Yeah.
works with a lot of communities on this exact same thing.
Yep, and that is, so one thing to clarify, because this is something that I found confusing in the act, and you can go onto the Kansas Insurance Commissioner website, look up FRA. If you Google Kansas Insurance FRA, you'll get to the site. There's a handbook that provides the basic rules and regulations. And one of the things that it talks about in there is the governing body's attorney will sign off. Okay, well, who's the governing body? Now, let's look at, well, the city's the governing body of the fire department, and then I'm asking you guys, can I use your attorney? But I got clarification from the insurance department that it is the FRA as the governing body, their board's attorney. You guys, we just asked you first,
Okay.
can we use your attorney? And you
Oh.
graciously said yes.
Okay.
So you guys are basically doing that. That is patchwork across the state as to if the fire department governing body allows the FRA to utilize their attorney or not. And if you guys decide in the future that that's a no, then we'll have to get an attorney ourselves to do the same process, so. Other than that, I thank you guys for doing that. It's something you guys have done for the FRA for many years, and it is appreciated.
I can't imagine the council, any council, not agreeing to that unless something changed in what you've got that is requiring a lot of work out of the city attorney, which
Yeah.
probably isn't likely.
Very unlikely.
Yeah. Thank you. Anyone have any questions of Matt?
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Have a good day.
Next up, the guest tax fund expenditure request, Brad Bartle, who I think is here as chair of MEDI. Is that correct, Brad?
That is correct. Yep, I'm here representing MEDI, bringing forward a request for transient guest tax funds that was made by the Marion Merchants Association. They're requesting to receive an amount up to $4,500 to place a half-page ad in the 2026 Kansas Travel Guide. And that would be, this is the 25 guide. Distribution is reported by this entity as $275,000 goes in travel centers around the state and then to neighboring states. It would promote Marion and then also the digital travel guide that we have in Marion as well, via QR code in the ad. So MEDI's recommendation is to approve this expenditure for promotion, and we believe our uncommitted fund balance in that account is around $30,000 right now. So that's my request.
Amy, any questions? I'll make a motion to approve the requested expenditure of 4,500 out of the transient guest tax fund. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Smith. Discussion?
Was there a price change over last year? You know?
I do not know the answer to that.
I don't know.
We've never done an ad like this before,
We hadn't, okay,
no.
so it's the first time.
That other expenditure was for individual business listings, which we have about 30 in
Okay.
there.
And that should be covered within that QR code, digital travel guide now, going forward, so the businesses will get.
So the individual listings will come up under the QR code?
That's correct, right? In that digital travel guide, we will have those listings as well.
Gotcha.
Margot, I'm confused now. Individual businesses, well, you don't have to stand up. Yeah, thank you for doing that.
Is it hot? I guess
Yep,
it
you're
is.
good.
We don't know whether or not you're hot, Mark. If an individual business wanted to put an ad in the Kansas Travel Guide, we wouldn't be involved in that.
No, no.
Okay.
And the Elgin has done that before. What they're asking to do this time is a similar ad to what the Elgin's done in the past, only they don't want to just advertise the Elgin, they want to advertise the community. And then
Right.
we also have the opportunity to go in there and I get with them every year and we do these individual business listings. And so whether it's the coffee shop or, you know,
Okay, so you're saying that what the council may have approved in the past was some sort of an ad that just had listings of businesses in the community?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
Which, Marion's the only one in the whole county that does that, by the way. So, and we've got about 30 listings in there. It's a good thing, good
Okay.
opportunity to take.
Brad, did the Marion Merchants present the proposed ad to MEDI to review?
They have not presented the proposed ad because once they receive funding, they're going to get a photographer and
Okay.
clean up the ad, design the ad, possibly within that can also hire a professional ad developer.
I would be, obviously I'm in favor, I shouldn't say obviously, I am in favor of covering this, but I would like it to have the caveat that the ad be approved by the MEDI board.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, I'll bring that back to merchants.
So my motion would be then that we authorize the payment of the 4,500, provided the MEDI board approves of the ad itself.
So that's your amended motion?
That's my amended motion. Did you second that, Amy, the first one?
Yeah,
Do you accept the amendment?
I do.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay? Unanimous. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark, change order on the airport project.
Yeah, as you know, the city recently completed the airport crack sealing project, and this was a little bit extra we put to finish some of the cracks. And Darren reported on it, I think, last week or the meeting before. We've already done the project, so, and this is probably a couple weeks old. If you would approve it, we'd recommend its approval. Looks like we did what, from 4,350 linear feet to 4,739 in the change order.
I had
Go
a
ahead.
question on it.
Yeah,
So on
go
the
ahead.
change in contract price, there's the original price of 195,000, and then the old contract price, 126. It's saying there's a change, a decrease of 10,200, and the new contract is 136. Am I reading that right?
Yeah.
So is it a decrease or an increase? Because wouldn't that be an increase?
That's not a change order.
The change order is a decrease.
So, but the new contract price is higher than the old contract price. Am I reading this right?
Hold on. I'll get back to it. I'll
Okay.
go over to something else.
This was a decrease? I had that wrong then.
Just a second, let me find it. Fuel, crack.
'Cause I'm assuming we're approving price increase.
No,
We're not?
decrease.
My error.
Yeah, so
I was reading it
the original,
backwards.
the original contract price was $195,778.
Yep,
That's what we approved on the original contract, but we only did $126,000 worth of work.
okay,
Because that's what it came out to on the grant.
okay,
So we only did enough that equaled what you had to spend to get the full grant amount without having to spend 100% city money.
Okay.
So the contract is actually a decrease of $69,242.50.
gotcha. That gets us to the 126.
Correct, 126,535.50.
And now there's an additional decrease,
No,
or what's the decrease?
that
Well,
is the total decrease.
That is the total decrease?
Yeah, if you look up above, we broke it down. There's $59,000 savings because of line item 2, and there's $10,000 savings on line item 3 from the
I don't-
original
yeah,
contract.
that's-
So that's just the stuff above.
I don't have those.
Yeah, we don't,
Oh, you don't
we don't have that, we
Yeah.
have
They
the,
didn't give you the actual change order?
we have the, that's all we have is a change order.
Yeah, I do see where you, because then it says for the new contract price is 136,000.
Right,
I just make sure our numbers are straight there, because that,
So that's where I think we're,
I think the numbers got switched.
Oh,
Yes.
hold on. I'm looking at change order 1. Give me just a second. I need to pull up change order 2. It's been a long day on Elm Street. Okay,
That's why we're reviewing it.
I apologize. This is a $10,000 increase.
Okay.
Yes, I was looking at change order 1, pardon me. So when we got done out there, we needed to do roughly 400 feet more than what we decreased it to before.
okay.
So this is an increase of $10,000, $10,242.37.
Which brings the
Which
new
brings us to
contract price up.
136,777.87.
That makes sense.
Sorry, my bad. So yes, that
It's just
that
it should be
decrease
increased.
should have been highlighted as an increase on that one line item,
Okay,
or line, yes.
Yeah, that
Sorry
makes
about that.
sense.
and still below the original, well
Way-
below.
way
Way
Right.
below.
Yeah, basically, we got to a point out there where we said, hey, we knew we were gonna be close. We came in and talked to Mark. Mark said, yes, we still have a little bit of money in the airport fund. So we said, hey, any crack that was 1 inch and bigger, we're gonna fix.
Mhm.
And that's why we went back over.
Okay.
So that way we took care of the worst ones out there.
So the numbers are right, but
The only difference is where it says net,
it should
it should say
say,
net increase.
yeah, and I'm wondering, because I'm gonna be asked to sign this, and I'm willing
We
to
can
do
get
so,
it
but,
changed to you.
oh, you wanna do that? Because
Yeah,
I can do it by interlineation.
No, I can get you a changed one.
Okay,
It's not a problem.
okay, all right.
That's easy. I'll get one to you. I'll get one to Mark tomorrow.
So we just need a motion then to approve the funding with the change order as described. Is that correct? I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, thank you.
I'm glad I was here to muddy the water.
You muddied it for a while, but then you cleared it up, so it's a win.
So the pilots seemed happy with the repairs?
Haven't heard anything to the contrary, but, nobody's lost a tail wheel since either, so we're in good shape.
No news is good news?
Now, it's one of those things where we're going to be able to make it racetrack smooth? No, but that was never the intent, and we know it's not worth it to that particular facility at this time.
At the last airport board meeting, they were excited. They wanted to express their appreciation.
Oh, good.
I had a separate question, but it's not on this, so I don't know that now would be the time of
Well,
that.
and I'm gonna stick around, because I've got several things to cover in the public
It's
comment.
about the fuel pumps.
Oh.
Just timeline with what that would take, or what it is,
Uh,
we're looking
let-
at before
Let
that's.
me answer that
something.
under the other comment
Great,
that
then we'll
gets
wait
into
for
extra comments in. I'll add
Yep.
that to my list.
Are you on the agenda somewhere for that, Darren, or?
No, that's why I'm waiting until you're line item 14, Mayor.
There we go.
I'm playing by the rules. Not very often, but tonight I am.
I wanted to say that's a first, but you beat me to it.
Second, it's a second.
Okay, thank you. 9, fireworks permit. Mark?
We recommend approval of the fireworks permit for wholesale fireworks. I don't have the exact, I can't remember the exact location. I think it's on the west end of Main Street every year. That sound right?
Wholesale? No, they're usually at the intersection of First.
Same location,
That's the
Janet?
one, the wholesale's the one that usually sits up in Barry's lot, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it'd be at First and Main.
Okay.
Well, that's the end of Main Street. I mean, I would agree with that. That's a fair characterization.
West end
That's
of
what I
Main
was
Street
told.
is Nelson Phelps.
That would be a poor place to sit.
Just letting you know.
Mark, is there anything, we haven't made any changes in any of our firework rules to my knowledge, and I think.
Not that I'm aware of.
So this is just a routine, request for a permit to sell, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Anyone have any questions? Do we have a motion to approve?
I move we approve wholesale fireworks application for selling fireworks.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Smith seconds. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Unanimous. Okay, Margot and Clayton.
I just wanted to ask again, for your consideration on the Chingawassa Days buttons for employees, please. You had asked for all employees' numbers. It's 26 full-time.
That's all I asked
Okay.
for, yeah. And I think that's what the city has done in the
Yes,
past.
yeah,
Is
that's
that
what we
correct?
usually do.
Anyone have any, so this is, I think you all know, we approved it last year, but it's just a perk to staff. We don't pay as well as some of our peers, so I think it's appropriate that we try to do what we can to make it a pleasant place to work. And a Chingawassa Days button is just, it's a very small thing. At this point, are they $30?
30, yep.
Yeah, per button. So I'll make the motion, well, I probably shouldn't. I'll pass Chingawassa Days chairman and a founding member of the organization.
I will make a motion that we approve to pay for all full-time city employees for Chingawassa button.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Of all the employees here tonight, everyone like getting those buttons, or is it something you don't?
I think it's very much appreciated. It's a great way of showing support for the festival. It's just a good thing.
And we appreciate the employees a lot. They do a lot of work for us Thursday and Friday.
Yeah.
So.
And despite my earlier comment, I don't feel like I have a conflict. I was being somewhat sarcastic there, or farcical, prone to farcical humor. All in favor of approving the motion to provide to 26 full-time employees, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Unanimously. Thank you.
I got a few handouts for you. Included is our brochure, which is hot off the press, so you are the first ones to see it besides a committee member.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys want one of those?
Everyone knows Clayton, right?
Yep.
Well, I appreciate you guys getting me in. So I'm here to ask permission for the beer garden as well as your blessing for Chingawassa 2025. This is our 27th year, would be 29, but we had to because of COVID. So 27 years strong and still going strong. So we have a lot of community support, and business support, and your guys' support as well. So to highlight some things, Friday night entertainment is pretty much all local entertainment. Sam Schultz is originally from Mountain Ridge. He now lives in Kansas City. Steel Scarecrow, they're El Dorado, Hutch area, and then Dallas Priors from Abilene. So very excited for pretty much a Friday, just local entertainment. And then Saturday, two bigger Nashville recording artist bands in South Hall and Josh Abbott, both Red Dirt Country. It's gone over very well for us. So excited to have some big names in Marion this year. So, and then if you look to the brochure, Oh, it's kind of the same. We put in some new stuff. We did bring back the bed races, which is always fun. We've been a few years without those, so something down on Main Street, and then
Gonna be the same look, gonna start like they used to in front
Start
of
like they used
Winkler's
to.
building there and, okay.
yeah, down on Winkler's, and then there's a speed walk race too that Diamond Sea Fitness is putting on. So there's some interesting things in there. Feel free to look through it. We try and keep it open to the family. There's always something for the kids to do, something for the adults to do. So we work really hard. We've been planning since August, so kind of behind the scenes. A lot of planning goes on for this. I have 13 other committee members with me that make my life a lot easier. But so yeah, kind of just an overview of Chinga. I had also given you our beer garden rules proposal, and then on the back is the map. It is, our proposal is just like last year with that fence down the middle of the park. No alcohol allowed on the north side, which would be basically the rock stage to Main Street. So went over very well for us last year. Didn't seem to have no issues, complaints, anything. So kind of just, yeah, same pretty much as last year. Got any questions or anything, I'd be happy to help answer.
Zach, do you have any, Margot will give up the mic if you have, do you have any concerns?
No, we had no issues last year, so I don't expect any this year.
Okay. And you do still provide security to supplement the
Mhm.
police force?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think Zach has actually got some officers on board to help the entire weekend, and so we'll hire them and take care of them, and then, yeah, our own security as well, as long as, I mean, as well as our committee members as well, so.
This is, at 1 o'clock, the rhino-sized Jenga starts
Right?
on the rock stage. At 2 o'clock, the Fortnite emote battle is on the rock stage. That Jenga is not gonna be
No,
done in
and
an hour.
it won't be, it's just in the general vicinity.
Okay.
It won't be on the stage, it'll be off to the side.
Okay. Good, because once we get set up, we're not.
No, I'm not
thinking-
gonna make you move. Keep under that shade, that roof helps quite a bit now.
It does.
Takes the heat away, and hopefully Mother Nature cooperates this year. For
Any
years we've dealt.
questions, any questions for Clayton or concerns, issues?
Yeah, looks great.
I think I appreciate you bringing it up, and I did tell Clayton that since, we don't like to bring something up and vote on it the same meeting if we can avoid it. Although it's not like we're closing someone's alley, this is just continuing to approve what we've approved every year. But if any council member has concerns about it, he said he'd be willing to roll it over to the next meeting. The beer garden has been there for years, and this is the second year that's gonna be in this configuration. So I'm comfortable with it as it is, and I would move that we approve the proposal for Chingawassa in the park, including the beer garden with the parameters that have been proposed.
I'll
Is that-
second that.
Second by Baxa. Discussion, questions? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. These are nice brochures.
Yeah, they look nice.
Upgrading this year.
Mark, talk with me about ordinance 1516.
This ordinance would designate Coble and also parts of Roosevelt as main traffic ways, which give you the authority to issue GO debt to help pay for their improvements. As you guys probably know, the road in front of new homes on Coble is pretty well shot. So this is an opportunity to do something. You don't have the cash on hand to pay for it, without depleting your funds. So this is how most cities do it. They go through some type of borrowing. In this case, we're looking at the Kansas Rural Water Association, was it a bond, no, a bond fund?
Rural Water Finance
Yeah.
Authority is actually.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we have Andrew Cobar.
Mark
Oh.
speak.
But this is one mechanism. We would compare this versus, and I think we already have, versus the traditional way of issuing debt, and this would be more economical. Then we also had, you've had a lot of water meters at the end of their life and some water software. And also a couple of things you did at the plant we've identified. This would give you the authority
Water plant.
at the water plant, yes, to issue for that with some debt to help pay for those things. And it'd be approximately $1 million. And the reason this is attractive, it's a AA rated, and you're sharing issuance expenses with across the consortium, for lack of a better word. And Mr. Kovar, Triple Wolf and Garrison can give you a little more info on that.
Absolutely, thank you, Mark. Andrew
Thank you.
Kovar with Triple Wolf and Garrison, as Mark mentioned, we're bond counsel to the city. I was here at the last meeting to kind of just give a general overview of that Rural Water Finance Authority opportunity that's out there that Greg Barnberg with Raymond James has brought to you. Whether you go with that opportunity or you decide you want to do a traditional public sale of debt, the actual process of issuing debt for the city is relatively similar as far as we go through the process to issue bonds. In one case, you may decide to sell those to the Rural Water Finance Authority, and another you may decide to sell them on the regular market. And as Mark talked about, the authority has some benefits that I think Greg is planning, if he hasn't already, to describe to you, but those include that authority has a higher rating, which theoretically ought to turn into a lower interest rate. Greg, as your financial advisor / underwriter, will figure out where those rates are and which one is actually the better deal for you. So I don't necessarily need to speak on that at this moment, and you're not making that decision today, to be clear. The ordinances in front of you are really the first step in any project where you need to issue debt to fund that project. So the first one is for the roadways. It's to authorize the project to actually go ahead and make improvements to the roadways and designate them as main traffic ways, which is one of the legal qualifications the city of Kansas has to go through in order to issue bonds to finance that. As Mark mentions, it's Roosevelt Street and Coble Street. So if you read through that ordinance, it does two things. It designates those entire streets as main traffic ways under the law, and then it talks about the specific sections and the approximate amount that the city thinks needs to be improved. And then, I guess it does a third thing, it indicates your intent to issue bonds to finance those. The magic to the intent language is if, for example, it's gonna take us 60 days to get to a bond issuance and funding, you could conceivably spend some money on engineering, you could conceivably spend some cash for the city on some preliminary activities to get ready for that project. By passing this ordinance, you'd be able to reimburse the city's coffers with those ultimate bond proceeds once we got closed. So that's I'll go ahead and take them all at once. That's the street ordinance. The item 12, ordinance 1517, is basically the same concept for those water improvements. Authorizes them and indicates your intent to issue bonds to finance those ultimately. Again, just because you pass these two today does not actually obligate you to do the improvements or to issue any debt for them at all. There will come a time where I'll sit here and say, now you're approving it and now you're moving forward, but that's not today. Today is just an authorization to keep on moving forward. Happy to answer any questions you might have about either one of these.
Question from the council?
You said you're not the guy that really has what that's actually gonna cost.
So, I'm the lawyer for the city.
Gotcha.
So I'll do all the documentation and legal work to get you from, this point to the closing of a bond issue. Greg Barnberg, who works for Raymond James, is the investment banker. He's the guy that does all the analysis of the numbers to say, we believe this path will cost you this amount of money, we believe this path will cost you this amount of money, and so, I recommend going one way because it's the less expensive path. He's not to the point, I don't think, of having run those. I think in his mind, he has an opinion of which way he thinks it'll turn out, but he will present those to you at a time in the future.
Are there any additional requirements, once we delegate these as main traffic ways, any additional obligations on the city to provide certain things to those streets? I don't know. that we'd be obligated to improve upon from where they currently are that weren't,
It does not change your maintenance obligations at all.
okay,
So it doesn't impose any obligation on those roads that you don't already have.
like us having to put a stop sign on every corner or something crazy like that?
Nope. No. It is solely a mechanism really for the financing.
So if we decided not to do it, then there's no obligation going forward?
Nope, none at all.
Can it be changed in the future, for instance, the water one, if there was some other issues that came up, they would, to add on to whatever the cost was, I don't know, with the meters, if there was something additional, I don't know what it would be, it would have to then go back and amend this, or change a new one in order to include that. The money couldn't be spent on anything except for what's in here, correct?
Correct, yes, everything you just said was correct. If
Okay.
there's more money, or if there's an expansion of the project that's gonna cost more money, you would have to amend this ordinance in order to spend more than that $350,000 that's in this current one. So the city couldn't go out and spend more without coming back to you, and vice versa. We got to the point where we borrowed money for these two projects, they couldn't spend that money anywhere else.
If you did have excess, it'd have to be transferred back to the bond.
Yeah,
interest
yeah,
line.
yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah, there's very tight restrictions, by the feds on what you can do with bond proceeds and under state law. And so they'd be tightly controlled, and probably they'd either be escrowed or they'd go to pay off the debt.
There's also on street names too.
Yeah,
We can't go do.
Correct,
We couldn't all of a sudden jump over and do a chunk on Freeborn without listing it in this list.
exactly.
Gotcha.
I think one of the key things here is, and it's been mentioned several times, but it needs to be mentioned many times, is that there will be a council meeting in which we will need to talk about this and talk about whether we've got water plant improvements, we've got water meters, and we've got street repair. All those things need to be thoroughly discussed, but that's not tonight. This is just setting the stage so we can have that if we want to. So with that,
One other quick question.
Yeah.
It does say to be published in the Marion County Record on May 28th, which is not yet. We can pass this before it's published, or is there any requirement that it has to be published before we even?
No, as an ordinance, it only gets published after you've passed
Okay,
it.
just make sure there's any requirement beforehand.
Nope.
Mark, anything you want to add, or?
I think Andrew covered it all.
So it's your recommendation that tonight we pass 1516 and 1517?
Correct.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 1516, designating certain streets as main traffic ways, as we've discussed. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Further discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Tim, you want to?
I move that we approve ordinance 1517 as discussed.
I'll second.
Smith seconds. Discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it unanimously. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
I hope you're not driving into bad weather somewhere.
I hope not.
Department and counselor reports. Margot, do you still have the mic?
Is it still hot? Okay. It's not?
Mark.
Oh, wait, it's written down on. Uh-oh. Can you hear me? No?
There you go.
Okay. Good grief. I don't know, it's a busy time of year, the building is busy, there's a lot going on with the school and everything else like that. It's just kind of been a Monday today. I've helped with a little of this and a little of that, and, that's what's happening.
You realize it is Monday, right?
I know, but it
Okay.
really felt like it, because it's just been kind of crazy a day. I did something to help with Chingawassa, and I got Darren hooked up with a meeting that I appreciate him going to represent us with KDOT, and just a lot of little housekeeping things like that today. So that's what's on my mind. If you have questions, glad to answer.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
James?
I don't have a whole lot tonight to talk about, just trying to keep up on the grass around town and stuff, so that's about it.
I think people like that you're doing that. Although Baxa here said he was gonna, well, I was.
heard your yard would come up on the radar.
It's getting close.
It hurts me because I'm gone, I mean, I guarantee I keep my yard better than Baxa does. And he waits till I'm out of the country, literally. Zach, anything?
All I've got is we've hired a new part-time officer. He's not certified anywhere, so we're gonna have to send him to the academy. But this is Douglas Calum. He's lived in town for quite a while. He's on the fire department. So we don't have an academy date yet, but he's starting out part-time.
Wait, the way you two are positioned, it looks like he's in custody. Well, thank you, Douglas. Welcome aboard. Look
That's
forward to
wonderful.
getting you to work.
I do have a question for Zach. Zach, can you explain why the dog food on the expenses on page 3 and the vet wellness check came out of the department that it did?
It should have come out of the K-9 fund without seeing it. I don't know. I believe it's a 26 account number.
I believe it came out, the way they do it here, that came out of the CI capital improvements, because it was all donated money. I think we run our grant money through there also.
Okay.
I know the ARPA money would park there to help pay for the water tower, plus the local funds.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
So they're using.
Yeah, so there's just one account for the K-9 program. So everything, whether it's training or dog food or vet bills, whatever, it all comes out of that same account.
Okay, thank you.
Who else we got? Steven?
He's shaking his head.
Nice try.
I don't have anything.
Oh, let's see.
Jason Wheeler.
We were able to get some of our automatic flushers out last week that we install on fire hydrants throughout town that we do during this time of year to help keep the chlorine residual throughout kind of the summer months. So we will continue to work on that. This week we have a few more to put out yet. Let's see, we've got Thomas Baumgartner coming towards the end of the week to help us with control of our lake valve that we've had issues with. And next week we have Dr. Ozone will be here, so.
Isn't it Dr. Atura?
Dr. Atura, yes. But Dr. Ozone, but other than that, same old, we're plugging away, summertime.
Anyone have any questions for Steven or Zach or Jason?
The last time when we talked about the water tower, we talked about the lights, and I think you'd made a comment that, because I did see there's at least one out there that's on the west side that looks like it's aiming up there, but I don't, where are we?
I don't think it's bright enough, so if we need to get brighter ones, I guess I just need to see what you guys want to do and get some ordered.
Well, and we'd also talked about the ones that are on the new school building, and we're not sure if those are operating yet, is that? Because they were supposed to be directed towards the water tower as well, but.
There you go.
Gotcha.
Thank you, Steven, that's good.
So,
I think they're on.
are they on?
Yeah, I've seen them on, but you're right, I don't think something's not aimed quite right.
I just think that looks so nice, it would be kind of a nice thing to have lit up, I mean, unless it's like ungodly expensive or
Right.
something to do. But
I agree. The
Within
idea of
reason,
it
I mean-
really lit up is attractive to me. I don't think we need to light it on the west side, just the north and the south probably, but it would all depend on what it costs to do it.
And we can visit with the school and see what we need to do about redirecting those lights and if they're gonna provide enough for what we want it to do.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mark?
Just a reminder, at 7:00, your June 2nd meeting will have this, another hearing for the public, talking about the historical district. Ben Moore and Christy Davis will be here. Again, just opportunity for the public to speak. Then I'll let the mayor talk about the meet and greet next Friday.
Is that, you say that's during our regular meeting?
Pardon?
It's following.
It's after.
After.
We had it, like we did last time,
Okay,
it's at
following,
7.
yep, 7.
I'd really rather you just talk about the meet and greet. I mean, you planned it.
Yeah, we
so-
did that, Brian Wells, your new city administrator, will be in town Friday, and we're having a meet and greet. We haven't quite, probably the ballroom from 2 to 4, and then invite everybody to come meet him this Friday.
Friday.
Yeah, it's just coming Friday, yeah.
We'll have cookies.
We'll have cookies and something to drink.
Janet, anything from your side? Go ahead, Darren.
You want me to go for you guys?
Yeah.
It was a long day on Elm Street, but the curb's almost all in. They were just finishing up right before I came up here. So Elm Street and Locust Street project update. Locust Street side is done except for the metal railing that's gonna go on top of that concrete wall. The guy was on site today to get final measurements for that. They're gonna start constructing it back at their shop, so I don't know if that's a 4 to 6 week type process. He didn't give an exact date, but that metal railing will get added sometime here this summer. Elm Street, like I said, the curb was finished not quite today, due to, we had to keep one driveway open on one of the residents. And so that'll have to wait till the first one cures out now till we take the second one out. And due to the rain last night, we did not pour the curb at the bottom of the hill in front of our office because it was standing water this morning, so it was a little soft. Wanted to also say on that, the tubes under Elm Street, they start digging those out. They'll start probably taking the street out tomorrow where those are gonna go across. So the plan is to have that street back open by Chingo. That's their plan right now, is to be fully functional.
They've been working and working
Yes.
and working.
The other thing we did is right in front of our office, we actually have moved the curb and gutter and the sidewalk out a little bit, so when vehicles are parked at our office, like our trucks, there wasn't a lot of sidewalk there to get around behind us. So we've actually kicked the curb and the sidewalk out just a little bit on the backside of vehicles, plus that way when our parking is used for handicap parking for Chingawassa and for Old Settlers Day, Art in the Park, all those different events, we allow that to be handicap parking across there. Well, that's also make sure there's a sidewalk behind all those parked vehicles to be able to still fully utilize it. In the past, everybody had to come down the hill, they got to the end of the sidewalk and they had to walk out in the street behind the vehicles. So we've shifted that a little bit to make sure we've taken care of that a little bit better. That's it on the Locust and Elm, unless you got a
Quick
question.
question. Has the lighting changed that's there? I don't know where the lighting was before. Has it been taken out or removed on that intersection so that like for Chingawassa we have adequate lighting for the crosswalk?
Lighting?
Yeah.
No, we haven't changed any.
I didn't know if that affected any of the
No.
light posts.
Now,
I didn't know,
we
but-
did get with Stephen, we're gonna look at moving one of the power poles that's down there. We got, right on our corner, there's a fire hydrant right out in the sidewalk. There's also a power pole that's right out in the sidewalk. And that power pole has one of the miniature guys coming off the side, and if you ever stop and look at that power pole, it goes up, and it's got a S-curve in it up top, and that's because when you look up and down the hill, it was put out of alignment for whatever reason, however many years ago it was put in. We're gonna move that power, not we, Stephen's gonna move that power pole, and put it in alignment so we don't have to have a guy anymore, which will actually move it out of the sidewalk once again, giving the sidewalk a much better, more open flow.
Less hazard.
Trying to navigate a power pole with a down guy.
Gotcha.
So, but as far as the lighting, no, we haven't changed,
I didn't
nor
know.
gonna change any of the lighting,
Okay.
as far as I know.
I was
Oh,
making sure that
project.
was still currently up for Chingawassa so that,
Well, we haven't messed with any of the electrical.
Yep.
No, none of the electrical poles get moved with this project.
Okay.
Other than that one, so. I'll mention, you asked about the fueling system.
Mhm.
So, the Department of Transportation sent out a notice, Mark got it, and any of us consultants that worked on any projects gets it. We cannot incur any kind of costs towards that until the agreement's signed between the city and KDOT Aviation. And those agreements haven't come out yet. So until that happens, we can't even really start planning on anything. Now, once we do get to the point where we can set up the bid docs to send out to contractors. Right now, we're hearing anywhere between 14 and 20 weeks on those systems delivery. So it just kind of all depends on how the market keeps going.
Okay.
Soon as the city signs the agreement, we can start on getting the docs put together, we can kick it out to bid. Money will be available after July 1st, so we're not,
No meeting, it's gonna take
yeah,
that long no matter.
right. So it's in the queue, but until we get that agreement signed, there's no reason to push forward at all, if you don't wanna
Yep.
risk the chance of doing something that you don't get to take full credit on the grant.
Yep.
Oh, did wanna let you know in case you see any activity, we did this a year ago, we did this again this year. Marion County Improvement District 2, which is the lake, water and sewer system, does not have, they are tied to your sewer system. So they are not a self-standing, they're a self-standing water system, but not a sewer system. They wanted to turn in an application again to be considered for future loan from the state, from KDHE, to start working on their sewer system in a slightly different way than what we got money for. With the KWO grant, they're replacing their check valves in their sewer system at each residence. But now they are at a point out there with their system where we're kind of stalemated. We really can't add to their system because of the way their system was set up 50, 60 years ago. And so we've come up with some alternatives for that, and so they're starting to explore those avenues of funding. But because they're not a standalone sewer system, we had to submit the pre-application through the city of Marion. So if you see any documents come through that say, hey, you're working on your sewer system, well, read the finer print, it does say Marion County Improvement District 2 has filed for that pre-application. We just had to do it in your name. So, just so you're aware. Change parking, what was I gonna say on that? I don't remember. I wrote down change parking, but I don't remember for what it was on.
For your building, you already talked about it.
Yeah, I had that too, the increased sidewalks at EVH, so there was something else somewhere
Was it
else.
for Chingawassa Days or anything like that?
I don't remember. I guess I'll wait for you guys to come in here and I'll see if I remember something in the next couple minutes. So it was a long day on Elm Street.
That's the third time you've said that. It must have been a long
It must have
day.
been a long day.
Nightmare in Elm Street.
It was one of those days where the machine kept breaking down about every 50 feet, so you're sitting there going, oh, the concrete's starting to harden up. They need to get going, so. I'll let
Well,
you guys
stay there.
I will, I won't move.
I don't have
Comments?
anything.
Mark, I've got a question, and this is kind of out of the blue, but last fall, we talked about, and you did some research on the lack of flow of water on Luda Creek. And we had a valve or a whatever out north that wouldn't open. And my recollection was, and then there was also a lot of stuff just in there, and that we were gonna use that company that cleaned out our sewers, well, I think it was the same company, but to come look at that. Have you heard anything about that?
I can find out, I don't recall. It seemed like when they were in town, it might have been muddy and they couldn't get down to wherever they have to go to.
Okay.
If we can, I'll check on that.
Yeah, cause I mean, Luda Creek used to flow a lot more than it does.
Okay.
And it would be nice, and my recollection is you told me that there was also,
There's a committee. There's a flow committee.
there's a
Isn't there?
Well,
Isn't there? Or
it's
what
the
are they?
Cottonwood Valley Drainage Board that
Yes.
has jurisdiction over all the flow into and out of Luda Creek.
well, do they wanna come fix that then, and?
Well, not for the price that it's all gonna take to fix it all. So, Landon, were you out there the last time you guys tried to blow, was that before you came on with the city that they just used the fire hydrant, or fire truck and
On the highway there?
up at the, up on the new highway?
I just started.
You had just started?
I knew they were out there, I wasn't part of it.
Okay, so it's been a few years back, there's a 24-inch pipe with a 24-inch valve under the new highway. And it sits just west, if you ever drive on the new highway and you look right on the north side, there's a little fence around a gate valve sticking up out of the ground, that's it. That 24-inch valve with 24-inch pipe is exactly what we have under Main Street. That entire creek was set up to be a balancing creek by the Corps when they built the levee. So it's not ever meant to have any great flow in it. Now, we have a lot of sediment in there from over the years of natural debris that flows in from within the city and fills it up, but it doesn't have a high enough flow rate to flush it out. That's just the way the things were set up. Years ago, and I don't remember what year that was that you would have started then.
Started in
16, 17?
15 or 16.
Yeah, so somewhere back, almost 10 years now, 8 years ago, the city did take one of the fire trucks up there and stuck the hose down through that pipe and flushed it out, and it free flowed. And the valve has been checked on multiple occasions, and it is open.
Well,
So,
that's not what I understood from from last fall's discussion.
unless something has changed more recently, like I said, this was back to 2015, 2016. I haven't been informed since
Okay.
then.
So
Okay.
you're saying that that valve is open?
In that 2015, 2016 timeframe, it was open, and yes, there was sediment in that pipe because it has no flow. I mean, it won't flow any faster than what it can go out. It can't go out except at 24 inch, so that's why if you walk down to the creek right now, right in my backyard, you can walk down there, you can see the water moving, but it is very, very slow. And if you stand at the inlet there on Main Street, there's water going over the grate all the time, but it's a couple inches.
Well, my understanding from the discussion last fall was that at the other end, it's also clogged, at the south end.
The south end, well, that's the dam. There's a dam down there. So I don't know if it's
Is-
clogged, but
Okay, well, I certainly don't know, but my understanding was that there was that the tube that you talked about also
under Main Street?
go under Main Street and then on south.
I
Okay,
think he means down by the tree dump,
clear down south.
Yeah,
where it comes back out.
yeah. I mean, I don't know that I would expect you to know that.
So approximately, when we were doing the water project, okay, and we bored from up at Highland Street where Highland comes down, and it's not a street, but when you're getting ready to enter that one subdivision, if you look to the right, there's kind of a cow path that goes down. That's the one, and we came out down on, oh goodness, it's not Third. What's that other street that runs diagonal down there down to Hetz? Is it Fourth? Okay. Makes sense. So at the far end of Fourth Street, where Fourth Street dead ends, that's where there's a dam across the creek down in there. But it's a free-flowing dam. So, I mean, I don't know that it's plugged up at any time. I mean, when the water gets high, it goes over, and when it's not hardly flowing, it doesn't, so. And then there's Sugar Mill Dam, which is outside of town, that's outside the levee, so.
When was that pipe put in, that 24-inch pipe?
Well, the one under Main Street was put in when the bridge was taken out, and I'm gonna look at anybody that's been here a long time to know when the bridge came out. Was that in the 80s?
I would say it was the 80s because I was president of the Chamber of Commerce of Council Grove and got a letter from the mayor, Marion, asking the Council Grove Chamber to take a stand against moving the highway out north.
I think it was,
And that was 80s.
the late 80s, I believe, was when the new highway was put in, and that's when that tube was put in. But the tube under Main Street was put in whenever the bridge was taken out by KDOT. So,
Well, I'm sure glad I brought that up because we really got something
We'll look
done.
into it.
Well, I think there's just some contradicting reports, you know, you hear
It's
that
definitely-
it's closed or it's
well,
clogged or it's not open or it
it's
is open.
definitely open to some extent,
Yeah,
because
it moves.
without a rain for a number of weeks, the water is flowing over the grate at Main Street.
Right,
So, and there's no other water source
yeah,
along that, back up to the new highway.
yeah. I mean, it moves, but like you said, it's like,
Slow.
yeah, it goes.
Kevin,
Nothing else.
Tim?
Yeah, tonight I was just gonna talk briefly on the, kind of where we are with, where our money's invested in the city, what's not invested, that I've kind of looked into some more. I think when we first came on, someone was telling me that we should, like, I don't know if at some point they said every 3 years review where we're at on our investments and reconsider, you know, every 3 years, and we're probably due to look into doing that again now. What we currently have, you know, in our report by Scott Lloyd, you know, it shows our interest earned. I don't know which page it was on, I have in front of me. You know, and had the recommendation, we look into other things, CDs, other high interest that we could get. But to know what we currently have with Central National Bank, and this is kind of what I reported on a while back when we first started on this council. They have this, it's called Public Now account. So our checking account is tied, our checking account is an interest-bearing account, and that interest amount is just tied to whatever the 90-day US Treasury bill is. And we get 0.75% or 75% of that. So today, I looked it up, US Treasury T-bill at 90 days is 4.35%. We get 3/4 of that, which would be 3.264%. So that's what we're getting on the money that's there. Whatever's in there, that's what we're getting. And I don't know how that statement comes out, quarterly, monthly, daily. I didn't remember. Monthly, that comes out. And we get the interest from that, which again, I don't know what our number was on their audit, was the amount that we got. Some other options we have would be what's been brought up with municipal funds. There's a municipal investment pool through the state. And so just to have an idea, here's their rates as of today. It's based upon how long a term you would set with them, kind of like a CD, but a little bit different. Their current rate for 30 days is 3.83. Okay, so we're at 3.26 for today. And then it goes down the longer the term is. So all the way out, 2 year, 365 days. So 1 year would be 3.5%. Going out further, it gets down to like 3.3%. So that's just an idea of where we're at versus where we could be with those funds. Is there a possibility for improvement on that? Yes. And that's what we'd be looking at. CDs are another option where you pull some of our money out and have it dedicated to a CD for a period of time. I didn't really look into rates on those, but it'll be pretty comparable to that. Again, it's kind of tied to whatever the current markets are. So what we currently have is really just tied very directly to whatever the markets run. Markets go up, we get a better rate. Markets go down, we get a worse rate. It's not fixed in that sense. What's fixed is the percentage that we get of it, but the rate is going to go up and down with whatever the markets do. So I think it is time that we look into, again, evaluating where we're at and look at some other options. So in the future, I'd like to do that. So that's all I have on that.
And Tim, I have no objection to that whatsoever. I do think we should get the new administrator on board, get his feet underneath him.
The one thing I will also point out, when we have it with Central National Bank, that's a local bank, and there's some rules about looking at rates first with all of the locals before you do go into the municipal investment pool, and there's certain rates they have to get. If they don't, then that qualifies you to get the MIP rates. I'm not real clear on how that all works, but that money then that would be taken out of the county and would be with the state versus being in a local entity, which it currently is. So that's just another pro or con with the options we have. So,
thank you.
yep.
Anything else from the council? Public comment. Anyone, member of the public, anyone here wish to say anything? Appears not. Did you think of?
No, I'll think of it and I'll send it to Mark to send it out to you guys.
Can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
I'll make that motion to adjourn the meeting.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion and second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We are adjourned.